in the background. We had a crazy technical crash today. We added a little bit too much power to one of our USB ports and had to figure out how to branch out. So, that being said, all is well. We are up and running. I'm running a little bit late. Sorry about that. So, today we are here for our draft picks, seat number 8. This is the last seat in our series. And then in 1 week from today, we will be doing video number 9, which we will do a explanation of how to run a draft or how to play in a draft and how to pick cards for what you're given. So today we're going to run real quick. We have 2 packs of Modern Horizons and 1 pack of the Magic Mystery Booster, which is awesome. These are really fun packs to open. If you want to see the results of this whole thing, again, that's in 1 week. We do have a couple of spare packs of Modern Horizons and 1 extra Magic Mystery Booster. Just keep going. That we are going to open in just a short bit, maybe later today, maybe at the end of this video. We'll see. So I'm going to just jump right into it. This is the first pack of Modern Horizons for seat number 8 for our draft series. We're going to crack that open here. Why do I see? Oh, okay. So, Modern Horizons always has a token. This is a token we haven't seen yet. That's a weird one. This is a crazy art card. So, they all have these gorgeous looking art cards. It's hard to tell on the video just how gorgeous this card is. It is high gloss. It looks like a bunch of dead bodies being, oh, yeah, like a graveyard titan of some sort. That's gross. But neat. We are planning on building some piece of furniture with that, or maybe like an end table or a coffee stand or something. We got a snow-covered swamp right here. All of these packs have snow-covered lands. And our rare for this pack is Tectonic Reformation. It's a 1-drop, or it's a 2-drop, 1 red, 1 colorless. Each land card in your hand has cycling. And this card itself has cycling, which is kind of cool, but probably not something that we're going to be real hot into picking at the beginning of a draft. This is a Regrowth. Regrowth is a sorcery. Return target card from your graveyard to your hand. That's very solid. Lets you reuse just about anything in the deck. But in draft, we're really looking for creatures and preferably things that are hard to block. So, this is the Conifer Worm. This is a trample. Sorry, my image is a little blurry today, guys, because we're having issues with light. So this is the Conifer Worm. It is the 5-drop, which is trample 4/4. For 4, it gets X plus X until end of turn, where X is the number of snow permanents you control, which is cool if you're playing snow permanents already. Not so cool. You don't want to branch into snow just because of that 1 card. Battle Screech. It's a 4-drop. Create 2 1/1 bird creature tokens with flying, and it has flashback. So its flashback is tap 3 untapped white creatures you control. You may cast this from your graveyard for its flashback cost and then exile it. So if you have another creature on the field when this is cast, you essentially get 4 1/1 white birds just by tapping, the 3 cards. So 2 of the birds you create here and 1 other, and you get 4 birds instead of 2, which is great. Not a great card. We're not building a deck around that. Elvish Fury. It is 1-drop. Target creature gets +2/+2 until end of turn. It has a buyback, which means you can pay 4 when you cast the spell. If you do, put this card into your hand as it resolves. So if you're willing to pay 5, you can play this card over and over and over. It doesn't have a limit to the number of times you can cast it. It keeps going back into your hand. But 5 is expensive to get a +2/+2, so toward the end of the game, this is a great card. At the beginning of the game, +2/+2 for 1 mana. It's a good instant. So there's that. You're not building a deck around that. Nature's Chant. It's white or green, +1 colorless. Destroy target artifact or enchantment. These are really good for the draft if you have the ability to take them into your deck and you're already in white and or green. Because enchantments and artifacts can sometimes be the end of the game. Maybe you saw our previous video where we had that the birthing bows. The birthing bows is an artifact. You need to find ways to get rid of it because it's just going to pump out creatures every turn. Shelter, we've talked about. Target creature you control gains protection from the color of your choice, and you get to draw a card. It replaces itself in your hand. That's kind of a big deal. Ingenious Elemental. The spell costs 2 less to cast if there is a land card in your graveyard. So it's a 2 red, 4 colorless. When it enters the battlefield, you may have it deal 2 damage to target creature. That's really expensive and not very powerful. So it's not something that we're going to do. Maybe if you're already in red and you just have red creature slots you need. Treetop Ambusher. It is a 2-drop for a 2/1. It has dash, which means you can play it for 2, 1 and 1. If you do, it gets haste and is returned from the battlefield to your hand at the beginning of the next end step. So whenever it attacks, target creature you control gets +1/+1 till end of turn. So it can give itself +1/+1 or someone else +1/+1. And it has its dash ability, which allows it to jump back into your hand and stay safe from attack. It's a very solid card. Diabolic Edict. Target player sacrifices a creature. This is a great card. It's a 2-drop, and it forces the other player to get rid of a card or a creature, which is really good for a 2-drop because sacrificing is the only way to get rid of indestructible stuff or exiling. So there's that. Spinehorn Minotaur we've talked about a couple of times. He can be good, but you have to draw a lot of cards to make him good. So you have to have a pretty steady card draw mechanic. Imposter of the Sixth Pride. He's a changeling. A 3/1 for 2. Not bad. Fairy Seer. The 1-drop, flying 1/1, and when it enters the battlefield, you get to scry. This is a great card. It's a 1/1 with flying. Maybe not our best choice because we have the Phantom Ninja. We've talked about the Phantom Ninja a number of times. It is a common card, but in this pack, the Phantom Ninja kind of beats most of these other cards into the ground as far as its playability. It cannot be blocked. It's a 2/2, and it costs 3. But anything that has the ability to not be blocked is really powerful in this format. So what we're looking at is these are kind of your top 3 choices: Phantom Ninja, Regrowth, Tectonic Reformation. In my opinion, I think the Phantom Ninja is on top, especially being as the other 2 aren't really worth money either. So it's not like you would take them for money, and there was nothing in that pack that would be hate drafted, something that you would take. Especially not in the first pack. If you open your first pack and you see something that you are taking because you don't want someone else to play it, you're probably doing something wrong. Because if you don't want someone else to play it, that probably means it's strong and you should be playing it yourself. So that's pack number 1. Chances are we're going with that Phantom Ninja over all the other cards. We're going into Modern Horizons pack number 2. We'll see what it holds. Hopefully it has something to help out that pack because that pack was crud. Oh, a bird token. What do you know? Oh, there's the art card for the Wall of 1,000 Cuts. The Wall of 1,000 Cuts is a really interesting wall that can turn itself into, or give itself the ability to attack, which is really neat. It's a gorgeous looking card, just all these swords. It's kind of like Wall of Swords from back in the day where it was the only wall in the first couple of sets that actually had an attack value. So that's very cool. Here's a snow-covered island. No one cares. There is a foil goblin matron. That is something we need to kind of take a peek at here in the backside because we've discovered it's rather rare to get any kind of foils that aren't tokens in this set. This is our first non-token foil of the set. It's a 3-drop. When it enters the battlefield, you may search your library for a goblin card, reveal it, and put it into your hand. This is a big deal if you know that you have another big goblin, or you know that you have a goblin that can help you do something specifically. This is a great card to use. Chances are it's not our big pick from this. Force of Vigor. If it's not your turn...
So a near mint foil TCG last sold was $5.
Oh, okay. So there you
However,
go.
there's no lowest listing at this moment.
Oh, so no current listing. Interesting. So the last Goblin Matron sold for about $5 in foil. So we'll probably list it for that as well. This is Force of Vigor. It's 4-drop. If it's not your turn, you may exile a green card from your hand rather than pay this spell's mana cost. So you can exile a single card for the cost of 4. Destroy up to 2 target artifacts and or enchantments. This is really great if you know that. So we know that there's a lot of artifacts and enchantments in this set. It is not necessarily something you're going to build your deck around. It's an instant. It's not. It's a one-time use for the most part. We're not building our deck around that probably. It might be worth a little bit on the market, about $5, because it can be cast by just discarding a green card. So, Smithing Helix deals 3 damage to any target. You gain 3 life. It also has flashback for a red and a white, which means you would have to be in 3 colors to really make this worthwhile, because it's a 4-drop for 3 damage and 3 life. Not really something we're looking at for this particular hand. Firebolt is always good. 1-drop, 2 damage. It has flashback for 5. It's an expensive flashback, but if you have nothing to do with the mana toward the end of the game, it's a great card to have in your deck, but not necessarily something we're building around. Ruination Rioter. When it dies, you may have it deal damage to target equal to the number of land cards in your graveyard. Oh, that's interesting. Probably not something we're going to be building around. It's a 2-drop for a 2/2, which is a reasonable price when it's a gold card like that. But yeah, it has to die to deal the damage, and you have to have lands in your graveyard. Weather the Storm, we've looked at a couple of times. It's an instant. You gain 3 life, and it has Storm, so you gain 3 life for each card, each spell that has been cast this turn. So it could be, if you're casting a lot of spells, it could be good. Magmatic Sinkhole we've talked about. It's got Delve, and it deals 5 damage to target creature or planeswalker for 6. Each card you exile from your graveyard while casting it pays for 1 of those colorless. So really, if you have a big graveyard, you can do 5 damage for 1 red. You cannot get rid of that red cost. It's always going to cost at least 1 red. Putrid Goblin. He's a 2-drop 2/2 that has Persist, which means when he dies the first time, he comes back and has a -1/-1 counter on him. Persist is a very interesting mechanic. We're not building a deck around him. Another Elvish Fury. A Tornado, which destroys target creature with flying. It also has Cycling, which allows you to draw a card if you discard it. Gluttonous Slug has Menace and Evolve. So when it enters the battlefield under your control, if it has a power or toughness greater than this creature gets a +1/+1. So you see it has a 0/3 to start. So as you cast other creatures, it's going to have a 1/3, a 1/4, and then a 2/5, and so on and so forth. And it has Menace, which makes it very hard to defend against. Phantasmal Form. Until end of turn, 2 target creatures each have base power and toughness 3 and gain flying and become blue illusions in addition to their other types, and to draw a card. So it replaces itself in your hand. This might be something that you are putting alongside your Phantom Ninja, because it would be great to give that Phantom Ninja that extra +1/+1 from the 2/2 to the 3/3. But also, it can be useful for just about anything that you can give if your opponent doesn't have things with flying. Borgadon Dragonheart, we've talked about. You sack another creature and he becomes 4/4 flying and haste until end of turn, which is awesome. Oh wait, not until end of, oh yeah, until end of turn. So he can be good. And then Ephemerate, we talked about. Exile target creature you control, then return it to the battlefield under its owner's control. And Rebound, which means you can, if you cast it from your hand, you can resolve it at the beginning of your next upkeep. You can do it a second time. Ephemerate is great if you have things that have coming into the battlefield effects. Like this guy, the Goblin Matron, would be awesome to have her effect twice. Chances are, though, we're already in blue, so we're probably looking for this Phantasmal Form, which is the only blue card we drew. It'll kind of depend on how the rest of that first pack plays out as to which card exactly we take. I'm going to put those cards that have a couple of dollar value in our side here. And we're going to quickly go on to the next pack, which is the Magic Mystery Booster Pack. So the Magic Mystery Booster Pack is very interesting. We're pretty sure that they locked up Richard Garfield in the back room at Wizards International, and he's just like cackling maniacally as he packs random cards into these booster packs for the Mystery Booster. There's 1,700, almost 1,700 cards in the set for the Magic Mystery Booster. It has packs. The cards are in random order. They are random as far as you're only guaranteed to get one rare and 3 uncommons, and the rest is random. So you could get more than that. You can get significantly more, and you can get them at random throughout the pack. So you theoretically could get rares and uncommons throughout your pack at random. Or, I mean, mythics as well, but I don't think we've seen that. We have seen a number of uncommons that were randomly stuck in the pack as we go. And I like the way they package this thing. Oh, that's so random. Cloud Shift. Exile target creature you control, return it to the battlefield under your control. So this is one of those, we just were talking about this effect where you're bouncing things off the battlefield and then back onto the battlefield. And that's really great if you have coming into play effects. I don't know that we're really going to build a deck around that though. The Ondu Greathorn. He's a 4-drop. He's a 2/3 with first strike and landfall. So whenever a land enters the battlefield under your control, he gets +2/+2 until end of turn. So he becomes a 4/5 until end of turn every time you play a land. Hopefully you're playing lands almost every turn. That makes him powerful. Not something to go along with our blue deck. Phantasmal Bear comes in, becomes the target of a spell or ability, sacrifice it. So this is awesome. This is one of those things. Phantasmal Bear is a 2/2 for 1, which is super useful. But if you target it, or if the opponent targets it, it dies. Because it's an illusion. It's not really there. So it's a great first turn card, but by turn 3 or 4, your opponent's probably going to target it with something, and then it's going to die. No big deal. It was a great 1-drop. It's a good turn 1. If we're looking at a blue deck, this might be a good card for us to hold. Messenger Jays. It's a 5-drop. It's flying. It's a 2/1 for 5. But it's got the Council's Dilemma. When Messenger Jays enter the battlefield, starting with you, each player votes for Feather or Quill. Put a +1/+1 counter on Messenger Jays for each Feather vote, and draw a card for each Quill vote. For each card drawn this way, discard a card. So either she gets +1/+1 for each person at the table, or you get to draw a card for each person at the table. So it can be good, but usually you're in a one-on-one game when we're dealing with a draft. It's just you versus your opponent. So only 2 people are going to vote for this. So the max it could be is a 4/3 if both of you vote to put a 1/1 counter on it. If you don't vote to put a 1/1 counter on it, then you vote to draw a card. But for each card you draw, you have to discard. So this is great if it's the last card in your hand because you don't have to discard anything. Not great if you have stuff in your hand that you want to hold on to and your opponent can force you to discard them by drawing a card. So if you're already in blue, Messenger Jays is probably going into your deck. Here's a random uncommon from the set we just opened, Modern Horizon. This is the Carrion Feeder. He can't block. Sacrifice a creature, put a 1/1 counter on him. So he's a 1/1 for 1 that cannot block. But he can become very powerful if you have creatures that are dying for some reason, or if you need the sacrifice ability. So sometimes something says when a creature dies, something happens. This gives you the ability to sacrifice anything anytime, which is a great ability, very useful. Oh, Touch of the Moonglove. This card used to be worth money. I don't know if it is anymore. Touch of the Moonglove from Origins. It's a 1-drop. It's an instant. Target creature you control gets +1/+0 and gains Death Touch until end of turn. When a creature dealt damage by this creature dies this turn, its controller loses 2 life. So it's not just that it gets +1, +0, and death touch, but if they manage to block that creature that you put this on, then that other creature is going to die, and their controller is going to lose 2 life no matter what. So it's kind of useful. It's one of those things that's like a last moment instant. It's nice to do a little bit of boost, but we're not putting it into a deck unless we're already in black for some reason by the time we see this. We're not just adding it to our deck. Okay. Cartouche of the Zeal. It's an enchantment aura. Enchant creature you control. The Cartouche of Zeal enters the battlefield. Target creature can't block this turn. Enchanted creature gets +1/+1 and has haste. So it's a 1-drop for a +1/+1 and haste, which is super useful. However, it also makes it so that they can't block. One of their creatures can't block, which is cool. Sometimes that can be the end of the game. Sometimes it's not. Beetleback Chief. He is a Goblin Warrior. He's a 4-drop. When he enters the battlefield, create 2 1/1 red Goblin creature tokens. So this is the exact creature that we would be looking for with the other Goblin that we drew earlier. If we had used her as our base, then this would be our #1 pick for this pack. So maybe that would have been a smarter choice, but it's too late by this point. We did not take her. We're in blue. Gift of Paradise. Really cool. It's an enchant land. When it enters the battlefield, you gain 3 life, which is neat. And then when you tap it, add 2 mana of any one color to your mana pool. So this is great for mana fixing. For 3, you can get 2 of any color. It's really useful for like your splash. So we'll talk about splash when we talk about building a deck. Oftentimes you're in 2 colors in draft. This would give you the ability to do pretty much any one other color for just 1 or 2 cards of that color. Like if we wanted to do the blue and throw in some red to get those goblins, then this would be a great way to produce red. Okay, so Pierce the Sky. It's a 2-drop. Pierce the Sky deals 7 damage to target creature with flying. It's great if you don't have flying in your deck, or if your flying in your deck is the way that you're planning to win the game, and you're already in green. So the important part is you have to be able to produce that 1 green mana and 1 other, and then 7 damage to target creature with flying. That pretty much is going to kill most creatures with flying. So that's an awesome Dominaria, really useful. Thank you, appreciate that. Moving on. Okay, Cathari Remnant, flying, regenerate. It's a 4/4, but it also has Cascade. So Cascade is something we saw earlier, one of the previous packs. When you cast a spell, exile cards from the top of your library until you exile a non-land card that costs less. You may cast it without paying. You may cast it without paying its mana cost. Put the exiled cards on the bottom in random order. So the way the Cascade works is when I cast this card, it's just a 0/1 flying, and it can regenerate for 1 black. However, it uses Cascade, which means I'm going to exile cards from the top of my deck until I see something that costs 4 or less, and I'm going to cast it for free. So I get 2 cards. I get this guy on the field. He's flying 0/1, so he doesn't really do a whole lot. But he also allows me to cast the next card in my deck that is not a land, that is 4 mana or less. That's super useful. If we're not in black already, we might consider taking this card. Mortar Pod, 2-drop, living weapon. When it enters the battlefield, put a 0/0 germ creature token onto the battlefield and then attach this to it. Equipped creature gets +0/+1 and has sacrificed this creature and deal 1 damage to target creature or player. So you can equip this, and one time you get to deal 1 damage to target creature or player. But every creature you equip this to, it costs 2 to equip. So the first one is just a 0/0 germ, so you can sack it for 1 damage. But later on in the game, this gives you the ability to sack your creatures and deal a damage to the other player. If you need that sack mechanic, it's really great. for the most part, not really useful for what we're looking at. Corrupted Conscience. Enchant creature you control enchanted creature. Enchanted creature has infect, which means that it deals its damage in the form of poison counters. Oh, so infect is kind of a big deal when we're talking about dealing damage to other creatures. It gives -1/-1 counters, not just damage, but it also does poison counters against your opponent, and 10 poison counters ends the game. So you don't have to do that full 20 life, and they can regain as much life as they want. If they have 100,000 life and they get 10 poison counters, they still lose the game. So even though it's a 5-drop, it might be worth giving something random in your deck infect. Although I don't think that's as good as the Carrion Feeder or the Phantasmal Bear, because it's so expensive. Living Death is a 5-drop. Each player exiles all creature cards from his or her graveyard, then sacrifices all creatures he or she controls, then puts all cards he or she exiled this way onto the battlefield. So Living Death is kind of a big deal. You take all the creatures in the graveyard and they go into play, and the creatures that were in play all die. So you kill off all your opponent's creatures, and then you get all your creatures back on the battlefield, and you end the game. So because it is a game-ending sorcery, sometimes you're going to think about figuring out how to cast that 2 black mana in your deck. This would be worth going into black for. This is a $3 card, so it's not super expensive, but we just branched into black just to cast it. It's a big game-ending deal. Fate Spinner. Oh my gosh, people, look at that. That little disc that she's carrying is all foily too. That's a golden. It's gorgeous. It's a 3-drop. At the beginning of each opponent's upkeep, that player chooses draw, step, main phase, or combat phase. The player skips each instance of the chosen step or phase this turn. So Fate Spinner makes it so that everybody has to skip one of the phases. Either the main phase, the combat phase, or the draw step. And that's hard to choose. A lot of times, for you, maybe not a big deal. For them, probably a big deal. It's worth $1 in its foil form right here. But it's a game changer. So for me, with this pack, I think when we look back at it, the 2 cards that we're actually looking at, even though there was other cool cards, we're looking at either the Fate Spinner or the Living Death. So the Fate Spinner only because we're already in blue, and we want to make the game as difficult for the other player as possible. Playing blue, that's kind of one of your things. It's kind of like the color that screws the other player. It's not really about winning the game, but more about screwing the other player. And hopefully you're building a deck that screws the other player way more than it screws you. But Living Death also is a game ender. It is a card that ends the game. So depending on where we are by the time we get here, what the first 2 packs had in them, we may just decide that we want Living Death, or we might decide that we need another creature in blue and go with the Fate Spinner. That being said, this concludes our evaluation of all 8 seats of our draft tournament. We're not actually running a tournament. We are just opening these cards so people can see. And then in our last video, we're going to talk about how to pick each time you see the pack. When you are in pack 1, which pack you choose from each person that passes you a pack. So again, this is seat number 8. These are probably our top picks, possibly. Maybe not. Andrew may have a totally different opinion, and that's one of the best things about draft is everybody can look at the same pack and choose a different most powerful card for the most part. So our first one being the Phantom Ninja, second one being Phantasmal Form, and third one being the Fate Spinner for seat number 8. But that may change, that will change based on the other cards that we get to draw from each of those packs. So that is seat number 8 finished. I am getting the word from John that he wants me to continue on. So because we bought these at random to do our draft, there were not many cards left of each of these packs at the game shop when we were there. So we went ahead and bought the last of the packs that they had, which is this. We have 4 Modern Horizons, and we have 1 Magic Mystery Booster Pack. So right now what we're going to do is we're going to open those packs just to kind of do an evaluation on whether or not it was wise enough for us to buy these. This was about $210 in cards.
$250.
$250 in cards. And so far, we've gotten back about $125 for sure in value that we know of. So we're going to open these. Chances are we're not going to get another $125 in value from these 5 packs, which means that we're going to lose about 50%. So that's what we call losing our ass. If you have never lost your ass in opening Magic cards before, welcome to the game. This is how it's played. We are going to open these Modern Horizon packs real quick. We're not going to talk too much about them. We're just basically opening these to see what we bought because we're dumb. Oh, there's the foil angel token. So of all of the tokens that were worth money in the Modern Horizons, the foil angel token is right at the top of that list. So that's very neat that we got the foil angel token. Oh, there's that Ashikari. Ashikari? I don't remember what that thing is called. But that's
on the back.
It is on the back. Damn. Umezawa's charm. That's what it's called. So there's Umezawa's. This is the charm is the one shot from Umezawa, who was a very broken card back in the day, I believe in one of the Kamigawa sets. Gorgeous art card. Love it. Snow-covered mountain. My mountain. Oh. A foil venomous changeling. So even though this is a common card, the foil version of this means it's going to be probably about 50 cents. We're just going to move right past it into, Marriott Lage Slumber. So in the background, John's going to be looking up values for me. I'm just going to kind of keep moving through. He does play with snow permanents, allowing you to scry. And then he can create a 2020 black avatar creature token with flying and indestructible if you have 10 or more snow permanents. That's kind of a big deal. It's very hard to get 10 or more snow permanents unless all of your lands are snow-covered lands. And then it's not too difficult. All right. Saddled Rim Rhyme Stag. It's got kind of a gorgeous looking card. Not that big of a deal. King of the Pride. Other cats get +2/+1. That's cool. Crypt Rats. If you tap X, they deal X damage to each creature and each player. You can only spend black mana in that way. So it's kind of interesting. They can literally deal X damage to everybody. They're kind of a living fireball. Like they can, when they decide to explode using black mana, you can kill them. It's going to kill themselves unless they have indestructible. So you see Nature's Chant, Shelter, Ingenious Elemental, Prohibit, which is a 2-drop, kicker 2, counter target spell if that converted mana cost is 2 or less. If this spell was kicked, counter that spell if its converted mana cost is 4 or less. So you can counter a 2-drop spell with 2 mana, or you can counter a 4-drop spell with 4 mana. Frostwalla. Frostwalla is considered a snow creature, which means it's a snow permanent. And it gets +2/+2 until end of turn if you can use snow lands, and only once per turn. Ransack the Lab. Look at the top 3 cards of your library. Put one of them into your hand and the rest into your graveyard. It's really good for building up your graveyard. Choking Tethers we've talked about. It's a 4-drop. Tap up to 4 creatures. It can cycle. When you cycle it, you can tap a creature as well. There's a Bladeback Sliver. It's got Hellbent as long as you have no cards in your hand. Slivers you control get this sliver. This creature deals 1 damage to target creature or planeswalker. So if you have an empty hand, then it becomes Hellbent, and then all your slivers get this one ability, which is they can tap to damage. We used to call that guy a Ted. He was the prodigal sorcerer. That's what he did. He came in for 2 and tapped. He dealt 1 damage. It's kind of a cool. Reprobation. It loses all its abilities, becomes a coward with a base and power and toughness of 0/1, which is cool. All right. So, do we have valuation on any of those? Nothing really.
No.
Venomous Changeling, I think, because of the foil,
Was about
50 cents.
no
Oh,
less.
oh, that's sad.
Maybe 20.
Sad. It's a gorgeous foiling job. You guys can't tell. Oh, there you can get a really good. See how the The foil looks like its venom is way more foiled than the background, and then its own pincers. That's really cool. And then the Liege Slumber, probably because people have a hard time getting that many snow-covered permanents onto the battlefield. That might be a fun deck to play, just a snow-covered permanent deck. Here we go with the next pack. Modern Horizons, we get a soldier token, which is useless. Oh, wow, what is that thing? Face of Divinity. Look at that. What do you guys think of that? That's a gorgeous looking art card. Face of Divinity. It's like Alanis Morissette. It's the face of God. I'm just saying. Snow-covered plains. Trash. Oh, there's the first one. So we've been wondering this whole time why we had not pulled any of these. This is the dual land for this series. It's a paying land, which means you pay 1 life and you can add blue or red. And you can sacrifice it to draw a card. So if you get towards the end of the game and you got too many lands, you can just sack it to get some cards out. It's probably got $1 or $2 value. In foil, they've got a great value. We'll know here in just a second. John's going to look it up for me because he's awesome. Scuttling Sliver.
Okay, so near mint, we're looking at about $8.70.
Oh, it's about $8. All right, that's
In foil, it'd be about $32.
Oh, that's sad. Okay, here's a Sliver. Sliver you control have tap 2, untap this creature, which is kind of an interesting ability. Oh, Lava Belly Sliver. We've seen him before. He's red, white, and 1. Creatures you control have, when this creature enters the battlefield, deal 1 damage to target creature or player, and you gain 1 life. So if you get him out early and then you play the rest of your slivers, they deal 1 damage and you gain a life for each one that comes in. Baron Moor. Oh, I was not tracking this one. This is an uncommon land, which probably means that it has a couple of pennies for a value. It enters tapped and it gives you black, plus it has cycling, which is really useful for lands towards the end of the game to have cycling. It has no apparent value. The Scavenger we've seen. Settle Beyond Reality we've seen. Stream of Thoughts. 1 drop. Target player puts the top 4 cards of their library into their graveyard. You shuffle up to 4 cards from your graveyard into your library. And then you can replicate it, which means you can copy it for that cost. Interesting. Evacuating Anurid. When it enters the battlefield, you may sacrifice a land. If you do, draw a card. Threshold. If you have 7 or more lands in your graveyard, 7 or more cards in your graveyard, he gets +1/+1 and has Vigilance. Orcish Hellraiser. A 2-drop 3/2 with Echo. You have to sacrifice it unless you pay its Echo cost, which is 1 red. When he dies, you deal 2 damage to target creature or player, or target player or planeswalker. There's the Umezawa's Charm we were talking about. You can get +2/+2, or give -1/-1, or you can gain 2 life. Twin Silk Spider. It creates a 1/2 green spider creature token with reach. Spiders almost always have reach in this game. Trustworthy Scout. It's a 2-drop, and for 2, you can exile it from your graveyard, search your library for another card named Trustworthy Scout, reveal it, and put it into your hand. So when it dies and it goes to the graveyard, you can go find its brother inside your deck and put it into your hand. Spell Snuff. It's a 3-drop counterspell. If you have 5 or less life, draw a card. Quakefoot Cyclops, we've talked about. Alright, so the big deal about that was the Fiery Islet, which is $8 towards our $150 that we needed. Oh, $125 that we needed. So we're doing real great. We only need $106 more or something. $116 out of the next 3 packs. We're doing real great, people. There's the elemental. There's that. This is that. What he kept calling it. So this card is actually banned in Modern. It's the art card for this. Whatever.
Astrolabe.
Yes, the Astrolabe. Did you just remember that? Wow, Arkham's Astrolabe. I'm always surprised when people have memories. Because I don't. So there's that. Andrew talked at length about the Astrolabe in our first and second videos. If you guys are interested, you can go listen to those. Snow-covered swamp. A foil rare card. It's going to be worth at least $1. Cabal Therapist. Cabal Therapist. It's 1 drop, is a 1/1 menace. At the beginning of your pre-combat main phase, you may sacrifice a creature. When you do, choose a non-land card name. Then target player reveals their hand and discards all cards with that name. Oh, crap. So if you know what's in their hand, you can force them to discard it. Look at the foil job on that, you guys. That's what I said. It's worth at least $1 because it's a foil rare card from this set. Look at how gorgeous that foiling is. Oh my gosh. And it's literally worth $1, people. That's it. $1. Tectonic Reformation, I think we discovered, is worth nothing. That's awesome. Watcher for Tomorrow. Hideaway. When he enters the battlefield, tapped. When it does, look at the top 4 cards of your library, exile one of them face down, then put the rest on the bottom of your library. When he leaves the battlefield, put the exiled card into your hand. Oh, interesting. Alpine Guide. He's a 2-drop, enters the battlefield. You may search your library for a mountain card, put that card onto the battlefield, tapped, and then shuffle your library. So this is interesting because there's not a whole lot that specifically go get mountains. There's a lot of cards that go get forests and things like that, but this is specifically to mountains. Alpine Guide attacks each combat if able, and when he leaves the battlefield, you sacrifice a mountain. Oh, gosh, that sucks. That's painful, but if it's later on, it's not that big of a deal. Talisman of Hierarchy. This is the one that can give you black or white. Defile. Creatures get -1/-1. Target creature for each swamp that you control. That's kind of a big deal. Volatile Claws. Until end of turn, creatures you control get +2/+0 and gain all creature types, which is kind of cool because it makes them all do the slivery or the other things that we were talking about. Slivery. I can make them all slivery. Savage Swipe. Creatures you control get... Target creature you control get +2/+2 until end of turn, if its power is 2. Then it fights target creature you don't control. Shenanigans. Love the name of that card. The Bellowing Elk. Changeling. That's the other thing I was thinking about. It can't block and can't be blocked. Moonblade Shinobi. Whenever it deals combat damage to a player, creature, create a 1/1 blue illusion creature token with flying. Spinehorn we talked about. Imposter of the Sixth Pride. And there we go. So that pack gave us another $1, which is awesome. Thank you, pack. We really appreciate that $1, which means we have about $114 in 2 packs, which means we're probably going to lose $100, which is the equivalent of losing your ass as far as I'm concerned. And we have, ooh, a foily shapeshifter, people. Yeah, that's what we're talking about. That's worth 10 cents. Hey. I don't know if it's 10 cents or not. There's the art card, is the Waterlogged Grove. We don't recognize it because that's one of the Painlands that we didn't pull because we haven't pulled any Painlands. And the shapeshifter was foily, which means there's no foil rare in this pack. That's kind of sad. Snow-covered Island. Reap the Past. Return X cards from at random from your graveyard to your hand. Exile Reap the Past. Reap the Past, is that worth $1 or 2? Maybe not. Shadowed Assumptions. Target creature. Choose one for 3. Target opponent reveals their hand and discards all colorless non-land cards, or target opponent reveals their hand and discard all multicolored cards. Okay. There's the Goblin Matron again in the non-foil version, although I think she's not worth much in the non-foil version.
20 cents for the Reaper.
Ooh, 20 cents. Rot Widow pack. Universal Automaton. Settle Beyond Reality. Geomancer's Gambit. We've talked about all of these before. If you are interested in these cards, go watch the other earlier versions of these polls. Mind Break. Winding Way. Unearth. Return target creature card with converted mana cost 3 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield. For 1, that's not bad. It goes straight back to the battlefield. Kite. Flying. Kite gets +2 as long as you've drawn 2 or more cards this turn. Okay. Goblin War Party. We saw this before. creatures you control get +1/+1 and gain haste until end of turn, or create 3/1/1 red goblins, or entwine for 3 more, and you get both. Oh, and there's the Wall of 1,000 Cuts that we were just talking about, the art card from the previous packs that we got. That's a gorgeous card. You can make it, you can allow it to attack as if it didn't have Defender for 1 white, which is really cool. And we're back to the Rot Widow pack. So there it is. We got 50 cents out of that pack. So that just goes to show people, sometimes you win and sometimes you lose. Opening Magic cards as a way of making money is not wise in general unless you can buy mass quantities of it. You need to be spending $1,000 per opening, otherwise you're probably not going to make very much money, if none at all. So we spent $250 on this, and we made about 130 maybe now. So, Magic Mystery Booster Pack. Gideon's Law Keeper. It's a human. It allows you to tap creatures. Celestial Crusader. That's a random uncommon. Second card down. He has Flash, Flying, and other white creatures get +1/+1. That's interesting. Mana Leak. Oh, we need to probably look that up. It's a 2-drop common. Target player counter target spell unless its controller plays 3 extra. Skitter Eel.
It's a quarter.
It's a quarter. Skitter Eel. It has Adapt too. If this creature has no 1/1 counters on it, put 2 1/1 counters on it for 3. That's not too bad. You already know you can afford it because you already cast it. Fester Creep. Ooh, that is a gross looking card. I don't know if you guys can tell that that's like flies and worms, and it's gross. Covenant of the Blood. Convoke. It deals 4 damage to target creature or player, and you gain 4 life. Keldon Overseer. When he enters the battlefield, if it was kicked, gain control of target creature until end of turn. It has haste. So, essentially, it's a 3-drop, but its kicker is 3. So for 6, you get him and the other creature can both attack on the turn they come into. Goblin Fireslinger. We need to look that one up. It deals 1 damage to target creature or player. It's a 1/1 that deals 1 damage when you tap it. That's the Bob version. That's the Goblin version of, not Bob, Ted. We used to call him Ted, the prodigal sorcerer. You tap him and he deals 1 damage. These even cheaper.
It's about 10 cents.
About 10 cents. Oh,
So if we list it as lightly played, then it's 23.
So he's about 20 cents. Acidic Slime. That's another uncommon. When it enters the battlefield, destroy target artifact, enchantment, or land. The fact that it can kill lands is a big deal, and it has Death Touch. Land of War Elves. That's a 50-cent card. Nice. That's the M19 version. Abzan Charm. Okay. Exile target creature with power 3 or greater. You draw 2 cards, and you lose 2 life. Distribute 2 1/1 counters among 1 or 2 target creatures. So that's not bad at all. Moon Glove Extract. Sacrifice it. It deals 2 damage to target creature or player. Okay, this one we need to look up. Impeding Disaster. During your upkeep, if there are 7 or more lands in play, sacrifice Impeding Disaster and destroy all lands. Woo! Woo! Wow, if there are 7 or more lands in play. So if you play this, then you kind of hold back and you don't play your lands, and you try to play your smaller things, so that when you reach 7, it's your opponent who is hurt by this the most. And they have, 5 and you have 2, and then everything is done. So you would probably play this after there's already 7 lands on the field, so that you're hurting your opponent more than yourself.
About a quarter.
About a quarter, nice. Oh my god. There's a Birds of Paradise. It's not going to be worth a ton of money, but the fact that I have opened a Birds of Paradise is just very cool. If you don't know what a Birds of Paradise is, it's the original mana producer creature. It's worth $6. So it's flying. You tap it to add any color to your mana pool. 1 mana of any color to your mana pool. It's a 1-drop, 0/1 birds. So we used to play decks that would like kill you with the Birds of Paradise because it was hilarious. If you win with the Birds of Paradise, it's hilarious because they're a 0/1. And our foil is a common. Are you freaking kidding me? Peely Polly. It's a 2-drop, 1/1 flying. Add 1 mana of any color to your mana pool by untapping this thing. So you have to tap it. You have to be doing something that taps it in order to untap it.
$1.50.
It's $1.50. So there it is. We lost about $100. That's the way the cookie crumbles, people. Sometimes you win and sometimes you lose.
Your ass.
Sometimes you lose your ass if you're not playing the game careful. So we had never done this before with Modern Horizons and Magic Mystery, so we didn't really know what we were getting ourselves into. We did know that we wanted to do a draft style tournament, and so we went into this thinking that it was mostly about doing the draft style tournament. Hopefully you enjoy our opinions about drafting. In video number 9 will kind of be the culmination of everything that we've done. We really appreciate you for watching. If there's anyone out there watching, I don't know because I'm not paying attention. And thank you. We appreciate it. We'll see you another time. Make sure... Oh. Yeah, this is day 8.
Yeah.
Yeah. Did I keep saying something else?
No, I made the mistake.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Thanks for watching. Have a good day.
Bye.
Bye.